In this video, we are going to see a type of firewall, which is packet filtering firewall. This is my lab setup. So, what is a packet filtering firewall? Is that like based on the contents of your packet, decisions are made based on the firewall rules, whether it has to be forwarded, it has to be dropped, or it has to be accepted for internal processing. So, this is my lab setup where VM 1, 2, and 3 are installed with Ubuntu, and the VM 3 has an internet access. And we have to make VM 1 and VM 2 access the internet through packet forwarding. So how you do that is like the first thing what you have to make sure is that your system is enabled with for packet forwarding. So by default this is set to 0 if your configuration file is not changed. So what is a configuration file? I'll just show you now. So how to check is that sysctl net.ipv4.ip. So if you just enter this command, if this gives out a value equal to 0, then it is not your for packet forwarding is not set. So to enable it, you just have to happen with like 1. Now it's I just show like change it. Now it is 0, so you just change it to 1, and now it is enabled. The next thing what you have to make sure is that your DNS server is set up so that your so that the name lookup happens. So to see your DNS server, before that we can make the configuration for forwarding default in one of the configuration file, which is etc sysctl conf. Sorry, it's not config, it's conf. So in this file, if you go and see, um, there will be a line which we just entered through the terminal. You just uncomment this line, save this file so that on every reboot, you don't have to set that command. The next thing is like you have to set your DNS server. So you have to see your resolve config file whether it is set up. So the name server has to be entered in here so that the system will know that this is your DNS server. So make sure that you edit this file, the resolve config file, and save it. Uh, Next, you have to set up the maximum transmission unit. A maximum transmission unit decides your size of the packet, how big a packet can traverse through your interface. So how you check how your current configuration is like this, your interface name, and see you have your maximum transmission unit is here my maximum transmission unit is 1500, so you can change it to any other value you want, like MTU 1456. So this you can just see your change configured value. So if you have more than one interface on your system, make sure that you change your MTU based on your requirement on all your interfaces like this. So next is to set up a default gateway. A default gateway is one that is configured on a system, on a router or a machine, which tells what is your default route for the packets created in your system. So how you check it is like IP show. So if you see my default gateway is set up to 1.5, like this is I have decided based on my lab environment. It's like I have to forward packet from VM2 by default it has to go to VM2. So I have set up VM2 as my default gateway. So likewise for VM2, VM3 is the default gateway, and the external router is the default gateway for VM3. So I have to set up in all these machines respectively, uh, based on the requirement. So now I have set up VM2 as the default gateway. So that is this is what is. You can also delete an existing default gateway by IP root del default. So if you see here it's deleted, you can add it by IP root add via 1.5. So your command, your default gateway is set up. So likewise, I have set up in all my machines. Now what it is like, I have to enable forwarding. So now what we have done is like we have set up the default gateway. So once the packet has come to this machine, what has what VM2 has to do with the packet? Either it has to forward or it has to do internal processing. Now it has to forward to VM3, and likewise it has to be forwarded to the external router. So we just have to enter a firewall command like any in the forward table. So by default, we have three default chains, which is like input, output, and forward. So in the forward table, we go to the VM2 and make the configuration changes. So it's like IP tables, and you're going to append, or you can insert it based on your need. Whether this has to be your first rule to be executed, then you insert it, or you can do it. So right now I'm doing append. So it's like forward, and anything that comes through Ethernet 0, it's case sensitive. So just make sure that it's correct. Anything that goes out your Ethernet 1, then just accept. So you have accept, reject, drop, and various other things what you have to do. So that you tell the kernel what has to be done. So now you tell the kernel to accept the packet, and then like you do the same thing for Ethernet, your interface device in the reverse direction. Next, you have to enable NATing. So you have to tell the kernel that this packet has to be masked as if it is coming from its own, as if it's going out through its own interface. So in a NAT table, we have a default table which is the post routing. So we are going to enter in post routing table, just like hyphen. I'm just going to insert at this time. So it's like post routing. Uh, Anything that goes out of Ethernet 0, masquerade. Just mask, make sure. And you have to tell which table. So it's like hyphen t nat. So likewise, you make sure that it has been entered. So now you have enabled natting in VM2, and likewise you have to do the same thing on VM3. So if I likewise, so now I have configured in my VM3 as well. So we just see like what is happening. I've done the same thing on my VM3. So now I should be able to access internet on my VM1, which is VM1. So now I'm able to access internet here, and then I should be able to access internet on my VM3. So done. So we have successfully forwarded packet and accessed internet.